Autodesk Inventor, Extrude, doing a little bit more extruding. Going to cover just a couple more things that we can do here with the extrude command. Make sure that we've shown you enough different methods for doing this that you're comfortable attacking the assignment pack. So the drawing that I'm going to look at for this is just a simple little flange, whatever. We've got a piece here. We've got 4 holes in it, the corners. The holes, the center of the holes are 1/4 of an inch off each corner. The diameter of the holes, all of them are 200 thousandths. Then we've got a hole going through the middle, right here, that is 3/4 of an inch. And then we've got a small groove. It's just 62.5 thousandths deep. It's a 1/16 of an inch deep, with the inside of that groove being 1 inch and the outside diameter of that being 1 1/8 inches. And we've got a thickness here of 3/8 of an inch and a square that's 2 3/4 inches square. See how many of these dimensions we can kind of keep in our head as we move along into Inventor. All right, here we go. I hit New, double click for a standard part. I go to the box. This one, I'm going to do it on this plane here. I didn't check to see which one that one is. I click in the center, and I usually go to the center here just of the of this grid point and put my center on there, and I say this is 2.75 tab, 2.75, enter, and then thickness is 0.375, enter, and there we go. There's our basic starting point. All right, I'm going to go in here and do some drawing on this surface. I'm going to click on that surface. I'm going to put a circle over here. I'm going to put another one over here. Just kind of get a cartoon out here of what I'm looking for and see how this all comes together. Obviously, those are not in the right place or the right size. So I'm going to start out with putting some dimension on this. So this first one, I'm going to tell it should be 200 thousandths. Resize that circle. I'm going to tell it to resize this one, 200 thousandths. Again here to 200 thousandths. And the last one, 200 thousandths. Now, you know, on each one of these videos, there's a little bit of different things going on with each one of these that I'm showing you some things that speed up the drawing and that. So one of the things that I'm going to do is, see how I'm still in the dimension command, and I've noticed in the videos I tell you guys to right click and tell it OK. That's to get out of that command. You can also just hit escape. So I'm going to go on and put some constraints on these circles. I'm going to use these linear constraints to constrain these. So I'm going to say the center of this circle and the center of this circle, they should be aligned, and you can see how that just brought them together. I'm going to go down and do the same thing down here and say this one and this one, they should be on the same center line. Well, I'm also going to do the vertical one here and saying this center and this center should be the same, along with this center and this center should be the same. All I've done is constrain them so that they stay aligned horizontal and vertically. Now watch what happens. I'm going to tell it for this first hole that it should be off this edge 1/4 of an inch, 250 thousandths. And then I come down here and I tell this hole, or this center from this direction, it should also be 250 thousandths. You can see that the different holes are moving together. Now I've dimensioned and put this first hole in the upper left corner into position. I'm now going to go down and put this circle in the lower right hand corner into position. This one should be at 250 thousandths. And I go here and I put this at 250 thousandths. You can see that the constraints now bring those together and put the holes where we want them. Okay, I'm not finished yet. I'm still in the dimensions. So I'm going to right click, tell it okay, I'm done with dimensions. I could actually just click on this other command and come out of it also. This center hole, do you remember what size that one was supposed to be? Set 750 thousandths, that's correct. I put that hole in there and I put that on the center of the crosshairs. I put my square on that center, my hole is on that center. Now I know that this is centered up to that box, right? Well, I'm going to show you something else here. I just accidentally did that click there. I'm going to do another circle. And if you look, this does not look right at all. So I'm going to go here. This one is supposed to be a 1-inch diameter. Then I'm going to make another circle. I'm going to find that same center point. This one I'm going to exaggerate it. I'm going to go way out of where it's supposed to be. This one I'm going to put a dimension on because if you noticed, I didn't do that before. I'm going to throw the dimension in here right here. All right. The second, or it's actually this third circle in the center, the largest one here, I'm going in to dimension it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say whatever the dimension is of this inner circle, it's pulling that reference dimension in, I'm going to say add 1/8 of an inch, 125 thousandths, to that size. Okay, not a big deal. Watch what happens if I change the dimension on this one. We should know what's going to happen. If I go 1.5, there it is. Maintains no matter what size I change this to. If I change it to a 2-inch circle on the inside, it's going to keep changing and maintaining 1/8 of an inch difference between those two. All right, let's bring it back. Do you remember what it was? 1 inch, right? There we go. But here's the deal. If we look at the drawing, those are supposed to be on the same center line, right? That groove should be going around there. Obviously, what we're doing is wrong. I'm going to go up and use the constraint for a concentric constraint. Concentric means that the center lines are the same. So I'm going to take this circle, say this one, and this one should be on the same center line. And see how it brought it into position? Now that really cleaned things up with putting it in there. Sometimes when I draw these, I actually do things kind of out of what it should look like, just so you can see what happens and some of the tools that are available to bring it back together. All right, enough said. Here we go. I'm finished with that. Now what I'm going to do is punch those holes through in the corners. So let me go in. I'm going to use my extrude command. Tell it that I want to cut. I want to select my profile and go, I want this profile, here we go, and all 4 of those holes. And the distance that I want to put them through is all. That way, if I happen to change the thickness of the plate, they'll automatically go and follow that distance of going through all. So there we go. As soon as I click OK, all of my other geometry in the center is going to disappear. I click OK, it's all gone. How do I get it back and use that? I come up here and I expand on that last extrude, and I tell it right here, I right click on this and I tell it to share the sketch. Do you remember that from an earlier video? Share the sketch. I know that it's shared because if you look at the icon for the sketch, there's a small hand underneath of it that illustrates that it is now shared. All right, here we go. I'm going to go extrude, profile, center one. That one goes cut, distance, again, all right. Put that one in there. It's coming together. Now I'm going to put that groove in there. Going to go in and do extrude, cut, select my profile, get that groove, and you can see that it's way too deep. On this one, I'm going to tell it to only go a distance of 0.0625. Or I could even type it in this way. I could type in 1/16 and go OK, and it will convert. It'll do the math for 1/16 of an inch. So there we go. There's our part. Now, if you noticed, it was kind of cool the part was actually made of wood. Let me show you how that's done. If I go up here to the very top of my model tree, very top, and I right click on this and I go to properties, brings up a dialog box with some of the physical properties of what I've started here. If I go over to physical, right now it's a generic material. There is no material selected for this. It cannot go in and tell us what the weight is, even where the center of gravity is on the part. I click down on the box here. I'm going to go to something that's got some good structure to it. I'm going to select oak. I'm going to tell it to apply that. There we go. Now we can see it in our drawing. And it actually tells us what the weight of this is and all of that. It's pretty cool. So I go over here and I tell it to close that down. So there is my basic simple flange made out of wood.